cases where the sense of discernment itself, being a brain function, can be impaired. Yes?
You mentioned the vilification of those who are successful.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, you also talk about, well, it seems like it's a random distribution of capability that humans have as a species. And so I wonder about if you could discuss poverty and the amount of gray matter that goes unused, and how your book or your findings could affect social policy.
Yes, well, in the book I make it very clear that I don't argue for particular social policies because I don't think that the discoveries about the biology of the brain or of genes or of evolution have automatically lead to social policies, simply because any social policy that's worth debating will involve some trade-off between the competing goods. And that I think the best that science can do is illuminate what the trade-off is, but how to resolve the trade-off is up to ordinary debate in a democracy. So let's say in the case of economic equality or inequality, the fact that people might differ partly genetically in traits that could lead to greater or less economic success, say ambition, intelligence, and so on. Does it mean that, well, we should tolerate whatever inequality we find because it's in the genes and in a completely fair system you expect some inequality? Well, not necessarily, because eliminating visible signs of inequality is itself could be a social goal, separate from strict fairness and freedom. And one has to trade off being in a society in which a laissez-faire society in which all you do is level the playing field and let people end up wherever they end up, and the good of reducing suffering of poorer people who may, by no choice of their own, end up having trouble making a living. And there's no way in which these competing goods of, say, maximum freedom or maximum equality can be satisfied at the same time. So you could, I think, array political philosophies in terms of how they resolve that trade-off. An extreme, say, Ayn Rand-style libertarianism would say that the only value is freedom, and to heck with inequality of outcome. A Maoist or Stalinist philosophy would say, to heck with freedom, what's important is everyone end up the same, and it doesn't matter how much we suppress individuals to end up that way. And then most political philosophies that we debate are somewhere in between. How much freedom should we trade off for a reduction in inequality or a reduction in the suffering of poorer people? And so my argument is not that any discoveries about heritability should dictate what our political choices are, but just they make the choices a little bit clearer. Yes?
Thank you for speaking tonight. I'm sure you've been asked this question before, but one of the implications of linking human behavior to almost a physical component, either of the brain or the genetics, is that medical treatments can be suggested for aberrant behavior, and examples of this might be depression or the ability to focus. And so what would be, I guess, your opinion on treatments like drug treatments versus therapeutic treatments in this sort of situation, and kind of the concept of almost medical perfectibility of behavior or human nature?
Yeah. Well, I think that first of all, we have to know what the facts are, namely what are the side effects of pharmaceutical interventions, and often there will be side effects, and so it's again a kind of cost-benefit trade-off. I think if there is a pharmaceutical intervention that reduces suffering, say alleviates depression or anxiety or attention disorder, and it has no side effects, or the side effects are outweighed by the benefits, then people should have the freedom of using them. But it's an empirical question, say in the case of depression, whether simply taking a pill is better than, say, taking a pill and undergoing therapy, or for that matter, undergoing therapy alone. There I would simply be kind of an empiricist and say, let's look at the statistics as to what works. My understanding is in the case of depression, drugs and therapy are more effective than either one alone, and I would hope that people will be provided with the information of what works to what extent and can make their choices accordingly. One more, yeah.
Hi. A difficult problem in computer science, one of the more difficult ones, has been a random number generator, making a very good one of those. And at first glance, it can seem like a contradiction in terms. A computer needs a set list of instructions that it will perform the same way every time, and yet it's supposed to come up with, to our mind, something different every time, a different number. And the random number generators I've seen have always relied fundamentally on a human input at the very beginning, and then it'll multiply by 3, divide by 7, etc. So the belief is that the ghost in the machine can come up with a pure, spontaneous random number, the seed, and then the computer program can take over from there. But if neuroscience seems to be seeing that the brain is just another kind of computer, is that negating the idea of whim or spontaneity, that there is no such thing as random bursts that we can direct too, not that just come because someone hit me in the hammer, but because I say I want my random number to be 5. Things like that.
Yes, so who's the eye that provides the seed to the pseudo-random number generator? Yeah.